Okay. Hi, I'm Joe. I'm an IT2 at the Orland Park Public Library, and this is Intro to Microsoft Excel. So I'm just gonna begin with the slideshow right here, brought to you by the Orland Park Library. All right. So you're asking yourselves, what is Microsoft Excel and what does it do? Well, according to LiveWire, quoted on November 2019, Excel is an electronic spreadsheet program that is used for storing, organizing, and manipulating data. Electronic spreadsheet programs were originally based on paper spreadsheets used for accounting. As such, for the basic layout of the computerized spreadsheets is the same as the paper ones. Related data is stored in tables, which are a collection of small rectangular boxes or cells organized into rows and columns. So I just read it off as just what they quoted, but basically, for short, Microsoft Excel is just a digitized spreadsheet program instead of having to manually write things down and calculate all of them by memory or by calculator and then writing them down. This will make things easier as far as being more organized and clean. You can actually back this up in multiple places and not have to worry about losing it. And with this, instead of having to do, like I said before, writing all physically down and then calculating it, you can actually drag and insert your own calculations. So then you have to do all that nasty thinking for yourself. It'll just automatically do it all for you. And as well as you can add tables, and then you can store an inventory. Because mostly when people use Excel or think of Excel, they get kind of a little bit frightened because of all of the options and all the tables and the cells. But all in all, Excel is fairly easy to get accustomed to and to be able to figure out and just get everything all through. And then mostly people use Excel for a variety of things, but the two usually I tend to walk into is usually it would be budget as far as saying grocery lists or how much you're spending on per month, whether it be mortgage, toiletries, electricity bill, Nicor bill, gas, AT&T cable, anything. And then this way you can add all of that up and then you can create a budget based on what you enter in per cell and per day. So then you can project what you're going to be doing on the next month or next week or anything like that. And the good thing about Excel itself is that you can actually add tables, line graphs, bar graphs, or anything. So if you're doing a presentation, whether it be a conference or just a presentation for family members or anything, and then you're saying, oh, well, I want to create a visual representation of how much I'm buying or how much each thing is or costs, you can have a visual representation right next to the just the list of stuff too. So along with that, you can actually create an inventory list well, as far as you can, like if you own a business and you say are selling computers or you're taking in computers, you can actually create a list and then you can create sections for the serial number, the what data was received, and so on. So all in all, Excel is fairly simple. I'm just going to touch base on specific things because this is the introduction to it. But as far as exercises, there are many resources online as well as what I'm going to discuss here. I'm just going to touch base with specific things as I kind of go along. I'm not going to go entirely advanced on you guys, but it's just a little bit of start of just knowing how to sort and filter, create the sum of any kind of column or row and stuff like that. So we'll just move along here. All right. The first slide is talking about filling cells automatically. And in each slide, you'll see that I've created a specific image, and as well as I create a visual kind of images right here of what they'll look like if I come across it, and then I'll just explain more in depth as I come along. So then, like we're talking about here about filling cells automatically. So take what you see right here. You have equals, whether it be this row, or this row, or this row. So then what you can do is take this green little box right here, which once you click on it and you hold, you'll get this plus sign right here. So once you do that, you can actually grab this and then pull this down. So then anything that is in these rows right here will actually add up along with this. So then, as you can see, 50 and 50 is 100. So then after you fill the rest of this, it'd be 50, 60, 110, 50, 70, 120, 50, 80, 130. And then this way, you could actually do that automatically without having to calculate it yourself. And this way, the more rows you add, the more columns you add, it'll all just add up after you fill the rest of the rows. And as talk about number 4, as you can see on the bottom right here, the 200, and the yellow on the bottom, after you equal each one of these up, you can actually do a fill again, and you can drag this box right here, and then after you do that, you have a double arrow kind of look right here, and you can drag this across, or you might see like this again too. Sorry about that, that got a little disoriented. As you grab this, you can actually drag this across, and you can add up this row, this row, this row, this row, instead of having, like I said before, to manually add, subtract, divide, or multiply all of this together. So then all of this will be formatted the same. So there's that. So now you'll know how to do just some simple filling cell kind of exercises a little bit here. Now we're going to talk about specific data stuck into one column. So as you're seeing in this image right here, you'll, like if you create parameters, and then you can type in specific names, like in this example right here, where under the first name, you type in the first and last names of the column in the email column, which is Nancy, Andy, and whatnot. But then as you start typing in, it'll autofill it. So then instead of having to type in the full name, you can just press enter as it fills in, and then you can have the entire name instead of having the manual type it out yourself, which is called flash fill. And then with this image right here in the middle of the screen, you can see that the flash fill right here, you can take the column that's right here, highlight that, and you go to the navigation bar at the top. You go to home, you can go to fill, and then flash fill, and then now their last names will show along with their first names and emails. So then you have to manually type things out yourself. So as you're seeing now, that Excel is all about ease. Instead of having to manually do everything yourself, it's all about automatic adding. So it'll be more faster and more intuitive. Going into the next slide here, you can also sort filter, which is fairly easy. And with this, you can actually say with this example right here, I took a screenshot, but what you can do is if you create a spreadsheet and you have department, category, and then months based on how much things cost or the full amount or anything like that, you can actually go to the home tab on the bottom, go to sort and filter, and then sort A to Z. So then you can, instead of everything being manually entered, and then you have to go back and delete and then move around, you can actually do that and everything will just be sorted automatically going from top to bottom, or you can do from descending to ascending, which would be Z to A. And then you can also do next is actually go back to the sort and filter section in the home pane at the top of the screen when you open up Excel, is you can actually do the amounts from longest to shortest, or shortest to longest, or smallest to large and large to small. As far as amounts, like in this case scenario right here, you can actually take all the amounts of, like I said before, manual entering in yourself. You can actually take the largest number and the smallest number, you can actually just sort them automatically. So then it'll be like, say 10,000, 25, 30, so on. So then this way you don't have to manually do it yourself. Next, you can actually filter the data as well as sort it. So then with filtering, you could actually say if you're looking at a large spreadsheet and then you see, like in this example, if you have a bunch of departments like meat, produce, bakery, deli, you can actually do a Control A, which is a keyboard shortcut that will select everything in that spreadsheet. And then you can actually go to the home tab, sort and filter, and then filter, and you can actually make whatever category appears, you can actually search it. So then if you're looking for things like the meat category, you can actually take this and then you can have that search, and then everything that says meat will actually come up right here. And then, like I said before, if you want meat, the meat department, and then take each one of these amounts and then sort them all together, you can actually go by department and then by lowest to largest in amount. And then two, when you also filter, you can actually click on the top depending on how you created the table. And you can actually, when you hover above it, you'll get this arrow down and you can actually select all. And then this way, like I said before, is a different way. But with this way, you can actually do the same thing I just told you guys, that you can take the meat and then make it all meat on the top, and then produce and deli too. And then you can do select bakery, like in this example right here, and then all of that will just come up on the top by itself, or that first, and then you can just kind of sort things by itself. So then I see you right here. You can see this is just a reiteration of what this is talking about, where you can actually filter in a lot of the next rows too, whether it be January, February, and whatnot, and then all of that will just autofill like I was talking about before. Moving along, you could actually make tables out of the data that you already created in your spreadsheet, which is very fun, and you can get all imaginative and have a nice presentation, have everything just laid out for whoever you're showing as well as yourself, so you can gauge how big or small or the production or the size kind of go up or in tables. So then with this, what you would do is you could do a Control A or just drag it from top to bottom. and you would go to the Insert tab, which would be next to the Home tab. You go to Table, and then once you see the table, you can actually create how many rows or columns to make a table instead of having a list. So then say you go there, you can actually create, okay, 4x5, 4x3. You can kind of drag and you'll see the boxes. And then as you're doing that, it'll show you how big it is on the actual Excel document too, which is very helpful to visually see as you're going around so you can see how much you need. And you can also delete it too, which I'll show you later on. So then what you can do is, in this case, just take the data right here, do a Control A or drag it, and then once you pick the number of rows in columns, you can actually create a nice little kind of header and stuff like that to make it look like this last slide right here with the green heading right here, and also the branded rows, which is the dark and the light rows right here. So then once you're done with that, you'll actually have a complete table. And now you can actually, I'll tell you how to add or remove rows or columns underneath what you already created. So let's say that you wanted to add another meat category. What you can do is you can take the meat, you can just drag it or just click the cell itself, and then take the plus that'll appear on the bottom right-hand corner, and then drag it down, and then you can autofill it like we were talking about before, and it'll have meat right here. And you can do the same for the other rows right here, and then make this look exactly the same, and then now you have an extra row. And you can also mess with it and add different amounts if you want. So then normally when you have that, you can actually also do that for the columns up here too. Not only with the data down here, you can do it with the data up here too, like I was talking about before. So with this, you can actually take, like say December, you can take this little bar here, you'll see this or a plus, and you can drag it along with you to the right, and then it'll autofill the next months, January, February, March, and then you can also replicate too, so you can kind of add, subtract, multiply, divide all of these right here. So there's how to create that. You can also analyze data too. So then let's just say you already create your table right here and you have all the filter bars right here. You can actually click and drag all the cells on the right, and then you'll see this button appear right here. So then once you click on that, you can actually make data bars come up on the side right here. And it'll show you the difference between each of these rows and columns based on department category and the months with the amount. So then doing that, you can see the growth of each one of these departments or anything else you list, like in this kind of example right here. So then, like we say right here, if you want to get rid of the bars, you can just press the same exact icon again, and then there'll be an option to remove it. So then it'll go back to just looking like this if you don't want to have that shown. So that's basically it for analyzing data. Analyzing data is fairly helpful depending on whatever you're looking at. But as far as, like in this case, it's fairly helpful. So you can actually see the growth of stuff over time. And then you can see what the growth is from here. So then you can see right here, hold on a second. looking at something really quick before we move along. So now it's a little bit of a big amount of information to understand. So I'll give a little bit of time for people in the chat thus far before we're moving on, because we're almost done. So I'll give anybody in the chat some time to ask any questions. It's something I didn't talk about yet, or something I talked about, but then they want a specific question answered. Okay. Just give me a second. Modify something here. All right. So after this, seeing no questions, so let's move along. Now we'll talk about how to insert a drop-down list. This way, like you can see right here, you can kind of keep tally, or you can create bars like we were talking about earlier about growth, which each one of these categories, like you can see kind of right here. So then, like we're talking about right here, if you want 3 department names to be valid entries, which is the foods on the right here, you can actually click and drag the yellow cells underneath the department tab over here. And on the data tab, like we're talking about in this last cell that you would see right here, that if you go to data validation, you can actually see under allow, you can click list, and then when you go to the source box, you can type in produce, meat, and bakery. And as long as you put commas in between them, because then if you don't put a comma in between them, it gets confused, and then you'll get kind of jumbled up, kind of hashtags and stuff. If the value is kind of messed up. And then once you're done with that, you can press OK, and then you'll see a drop-down menu. So then you can kind of manage the data over here. So now we're going to talk about charts. Charts are really useful as far as, like I said before, making a presentation, and you want to say you're going to show the quotas up for the month. You can actually take the data you throw in your Excel spreadsheet, instead of having to manually do it yourself in a pie bar or a line graph, you can actually do Control A or drag, like I talked about before, and you can take a portion of it, and then you can create a bar graph, and then you can see a visual representation next to the data, and then see the growth or diminishing value of whatever you're trying to represent, whether it be, say, budget or anything like that. So in this example over here, you can click anywhere on the data on the right here, and then you go to the insert tab on the top right here and go to recommended charts. Recommended charts, it'll kind of give you a jack of all trades kind of thing, where you'll see line bars and clustered columns like that, so you can see which one you're going to look for. And then it also gives you underneath it different columns underneath it to be more personalized if you're looking for something specific. So then in this, you'll see several recommendations. When you go to that portion, what you do is you click the second one on the left that's called clustered columns, and you click OK. And then a column chart appears showing the total number of conference attendees per year. And you can actually move it around, say if you want on the right or the bottom or the top, and you can actually move the data around yourself too. And then now we'll talk about trend lines. Like I was talking before, it's kind of like the data bars on this previous slide right here. But instead, you actually make a chart out of this. So you would select the chart, go to the Tools tab. Once you actually make a chart, if you like just drag the bar, do a Control A, and then go to the chart, you can actually create like a style. So if you want the bar graph or pie graph or anything to pop out, or if you want each one of these pieces labeled or a percentage, that can be updated live too. That's a feature that you can actually change it on the side in the tools, and then it'll change it live so you can see how much you can actually kind of gauge and what you can look at. You can actually make a great background and stuff like that to make it more visually pleasing in like a presentation or something. And right here is just like I just talked about. You can create like design. You can add chart element, trend line. You can make it linear, and then you can actually see it's kind of like a line graph where it'll show the general direction of the US sold over time. Just like you see right here, it'll show you like two kind of keywords, and it'll be like, okay, year and conference attendance, and it'll show you like a line going up and down depending on how this data right here is sorted. So there's that. And that's pretty much it. That's just the main beginnings of Excel. All right, we are done. So this was Excel with Orland Park Library, and thank you for watching.